Welcome back to Out There with Dan. Behind me is our new exploring vehicle for the channel. We've laid the grey dingo to rest. This is our new 21-year-old 2002 Prado TX badge. So it's auto and it's the diesel. The TX only came in diesel, and I'd like to show you around. It's pretty well stock. So 21 years old, not much has been done to it. It's a really great vehicle, so let's get into it. We picked it up in Queensland. I flew up there to inspect it, and then we got it shipped back, and it arrived just about a week ago. It's brand new for us. When it hit Melbourne, it had 304,524 kilometres on it, so significantly less than the grey dingo. But when you're looking at cars like that, you want to make sure you're getting a good example that's got a good service history and looks well looked after. It's basically had no mods done to it. It has a UHF aerial, a UHF radio inside, and a electric brake controller for the caravan that it towed. But apart from that, there's pretty much nothing in there. I took the aerial off for shipping it down just so it wasn't in the way for the car carrier. Forgot to mention too, there's another little aerial here. If anyone from Days Gone Old can remember what those are, they are a mobile phone aerial to an old school Nokia mount in the cab, and there's a little microphone on the right side up above the driver. So it had done 100,000 K in the first year, looking at the early service history. So I suspect it was a fleet vehicle, commercial vehicle, company vehicle, a rep vehicle, something like that, where it used that old school Nokia handset. I'm a bit surprised though that 21 years later it's still in there, but I think that's a testament to it's just been a simple, well-loved, well-looked after stock vehicle its whole life. So the grey dingo had the leather interior. The TX has a fabric interior, but you might notice the colour's different too. So the trim on the grey dingo had that brown fake wood, but the colours in here are bluey grey rather than the browny tones of the grey dingo. So this model did come in the brown, and it did come in the blue. Initially, I thought this would look a bit drab. It would be a bit uninspiring on the inside, but having driven it, I think this lightens up the space more, and I actually really like it. So if I was buying one, I had all the choice in the world, I'd probably go this nice blue tone. As you can see, the seats are barely lived in. They look brand new. There's a slight wear spot on the driver's side where you naturally slide getting in and out of the vehicle. So apart from that, the seats are in absolutely great condition. You can see that Nokia mount down there. The steering wheel is in really good nick. That's something that the older ones tends to go and fray with the old leather. It's traveling really well, but we will probably put a cover on there. The dash is in really good nick. Considering it was in Queensland, the UV, the heat, I was expecting a lot more damage, but it looks pretty good. I think I might put carpet on there, carpet mat, just to really try and protect it and look after it. It's got the original CD stacker in there. I was half expecting like Slim Dusty's greatest hits to be stacked up in there when I got it, but it actually looks like the buttons haven't even been touched. So it's just immaculate. The whole dash, everything looks like it's almost brand new. It's pretty amazing. So there isn't too many of these TX badge Prados around. The vast majority are the GXLs, and then people that were willing to spend more than that typically went for the Grande model. The Grande's got the leather interior, it's got electric seat adjustment, and it had the sunroof as standard. So apart from that, the TX is pretty much the same. But when you think about it, for a vehicle that's going off-road 20 years later, the simpler it is, the better it is. So I, in my opinion, I'd rather not have electric seats. It's just something else to go wrong. Similarly with a sunroof, as much as my wife liked having a sunroof, I worry about the seals going, and I worry about the electrics not working, and leather doesn't last. 20 years later, the grey dingo as an example, cracked and horrible. So in my mind, this is the best model Prado, or the best badge Prado. The diesels are more sought after than the petrols, and that's reflected in the cost of them on the market, as well as the autos being more sought after than the manuals. I think. And I think that's an industry-wide thing. So this is 2002 model, which they stopped making or stopped selling them very early in 2003, and I'm yet to find a 2003 90 series Prado badge like that. So this was the final year they made these, and like I said, I think it's the top of the range, the best you can get. This is the best of the 90 series, this vehicle, and my love affair hasn't finished with it yet. We want more, so it's a good vehicle. It came out of the same factory as the 100 series did. It's made of the same stuff. I think the 1KZTE 3-litre engine, if you look after it, it's a versatile engine on and off-road, and I think the transmission to go alongside it really suits the range of that motor. So I think it's great. That's why we've gone with it again, and I'm really excited that we nabbed such a great example, the absolute best of the 90 series. The main selling point of the TX though, and the Grande, compared to the GXL for me, is the four-wheel drive traction control and the vehicle stability control features that weren't on the other models. That's what makes this thing keep up with twin-locked vehicles, and off-road it just makes it an absolute weapon. A billy goat that is slow and steady and just traverses everything. Very good on gravel roads, dirt roads, just handling and stability. You know, I feel comfortable with my wife driving it, having these extra features. You know, I feel comfortable with my family in there with these features, so that's what makes it such a great vehicle. It punches well above its weight, well above its year with these features, and it makes it a ripper vehicle off-road. I should mention too that the passenger side airbags come as standard on these high-end models, and that's really important for me too. I think that if I had a choice, I would always go for, yes, I want airbags, whereas on the GXL, I think you had to option them up. So there's not many out there that actually do have them, or not many that I've seen. So they're safer, they've got much better capability. That's why I'm looking at the TX and the Grande models as being the best. So it's got the factory side steps. I think they came on all Prados of that era. Tyres, it's got the standard size 265/70/16, the standard tyre size. These front ones are J-Trax all-terrains, which I think are Bob Jane T-Mart brand tyres, could be wrong. And on the back there's Dunlop Grand Trex. So not much tread on the back. These aren't much good, but yeah, I don't think these are a very good tyre for what I want to do with them. So we're going to transplant the Grey Dingo tyres on, which are 270/70/16, so slightly wider, and because that changes the ratio, they're slightly taller, about 31.5 inch. I might decide when that set wears out to go a different route, but that's what we're going to do. We're transplanting tyres on. The higher end models also came with these beautiful alloy wheels. This is the first one that I've seen that has had this heavy fading on this plastic cover that goes in the center. So this just covers up the nuts and makes it look nice. When I was looking online initially, I was really worried that that was a symptom that the whole car would be damaged by UV and sort of worn out, but that wasn't the case. So it really is just these four caps that look really worn out. So I suspect it was a bad batch from Toyota at the start. I've got nothing to lose. They look pretty ugly, so I might try to refurbish them and spray paint them. Even, yeah, the guards, this sort of paintwork you see on a lot of the older ones, on the trim and the flares going, you know, getting really faded and starting to look crap. It's starting over there, but not so bad. But on the roof, I thought, oh, one of the first things I looked at on the exterior was, if that's faded like that, what's the roof going to look like if it's copped beating with the Queensland sun? But the roof looks really good. So up there, it's it looks really good. There's really nothing to worry about. I suspect it's been garaged its whole life. So around the back here, I lie a little bit. There is a little bit of a significant degradation on this plastic housing, but every Prado I've looked at this age that still has the original ones looks similar to that. so it's not surprising. I might do something with that eventually. The tow bar is all original, so factory mounted bar, and yeah, bit of wear up here on the tyre cover. Probably take this off anyway and just use a canvas one or a poly PVC one, and then put my wheel bag over the top, so that'll come off, but that's in pretty good nick still anyway. But feel this, the Grey Dingo had this very clunky, sticky handle, and this thing just like butter. So yeah, in here it's not much to talk about. It's pretty boring. You know, to sell them with a Roadworthy, you've got to have the third row of seats in, so they'll be coming out. I will make a video talking about the modifications I intend to do and talk a bit about that. So we will look at putting a cargo barrier in here, which was always on the cards for the Grey Dingo. Never got around to it, but with this one, we're making it a priority. This mat's really nice. We didn't have one of those. The Grey Dingo carpet got absolutely wrecked, so glad that's in there. And it's all pretty stock. See this clip down here, which is to fold the back seat over. On one side, I think it's the other side. It's broken, but you can access it from the boot. It's got the same latch on the back, so the third row passenger can flick the seat as well. So that's no big deal, but that's one of the only things that's actually, quote, broken. We looked at a number of them down here, and this one came up, and I originally wrote it off and thought, oh, it's done moderately high Ks, you know, not worth traveling for, but yeah, that's a good example. And then we saw a few more, and eventually we got to a point where, you know what, bugger it, let's go look at this one, because if it is as good as it looks, it's probably a great buy. And so, yep, called the seller, made plans, what are you doing this weekend? And was very upfront and honest. You know, we even spoke about the price at the start, just, you know, I didn't want to get up there and then, you know, they held a line or knew that I was coming and then demanded a higher price when I got there or something like that. So, but they're really lovely people. You know, you can tell when you roll up at someone's house how they look after their house and how they conduct themselves. You know, you want to buy a car from someone that you trust like that, you know, if you get bad vibes, you're probably going to have the same bad vibes with the car. The driver's window tint is bubbling and blistery and a bit dodgy. I don't know how it passed a Roadworthy in not one but two different states, but we're going to replace this. There's a few scratches on the back windows as well, so Paisley won't be able to see out. We're just going to replace the both front and back seats. Yeah, just get it done. The day we picked it up in Keysborough in Melbourne was the same day that they announced or revealed the 2024 250 series LandCruiser Prado. So not much of a Prado anymore in my opinion. They've extended the wheelbase to the same as the 300 and it's almost as wide and big. I think it's now just the little cousin of the 300. Anyway, besides that, everyone was talking about the throwback to the old days of that nice square front on the Toyotas. So the J70 series Prados, which weren't actually available in Australia, they made them up to 95 or 96. So they looked very much like the 70 series LandCruiser. And I think this, you can see elements of that styling. Beautiful square front, utilitarian, you know, simple, elegant. It looks nice, right? I really, really like the look of this car. I'll talk about modifications later, but I'm probably going to put a bull bar on there or put the Grey Dingo's bull bar on there. But it's a real shame because this looks really, really nice. And I can't help but think for the price I paid for this, which I think will be about 1/10 of the price of a new 250 series Prado, I think I've got something pretty much, depending on the driver, just as capable as that. And in my opinion, it looks even better. So why buy a really expensive, beautiful, square looking Toyota Prado when you can buy the simple, beautiful, elegant days of old version? So it's clearly been detailed prior to the sale, but that's okay. a lot of people do that. It's definitely, they weren't trying to hide anything at all. It's in great condition. The grey Dingo, the air filter clips were broken. You know, things were all shabby looking, obviously filled with mud and dirt because there's limited covers underneath out of the factory. So through water and through mud, it comes right up and in. But it just looks amazing under here. Everything looks really neat and clean. The coolant, the first thing I checked, and this is a big tip if you're looking at getting a Prado or any vehicle that's done a huge number of Ks, right, is check that the coolant looks good and there's no sparkly stuff in there, because that's evidence of stuff in there to fix a crack in the head or engine issues. So yeah, if the coolant looks good and the overflow bottle, what's in there, looks good, then you're probably going to have a good engine, or at least a good starting point. It's just got the one battery, the cranking battery there, but it's got the spot on this side to have the second one. It's missing the tray, I think they call it, but I've got that off the grey Dingo, so some flexibility here for what I want to do. The only thing that I think is aftermarket is down here, is there's a transmission cooler that's been fitted. So in the service history, I think they broke down with the transmission overheating and they had to do some emergency works, and I think that was fitted around that time. But all in all, it's all pretty stock. The other issue they had that I found out was the computer died in the ABS brake booster, and this actually happened to the grey Dingo not long ago, and they wanted $1,500. If you have any of the lower model Prados, this thing will cost a couple of $100 for a brand new wrecked one. In these, if you're looking at the high end, the TX or the Grande, these cost $1,500 at a wrecker, because they're just, people know that they go through them and they're getting more rare to find. And if you want to refurbish it, we found one place in Melbourne that did. People say that you can, but you got to know what you're doing. I think it wasn't for me. They know what they're worth too, so they charge slightly less, and then offer a 6-month warranty on it or whatever. So be careful if you're buying a Prado. Yeah, you want to make sure that they haven't had too many dramas with the ABS brake booster. That computer controls all those vehicle stability control features that I spoke about. So it's sort of central. So a lot of things, small things could go wrong and have an impact on the computer, or something small with the computer might totally make a really big drama for the car. So if you're looking at getting one of these vehicles, have a look at the ABS brake booster and check in the service history how it's going. So it could be an expensive problem if you don't know what you're getting into. But yeah, all looks pretty good under here. Might not look this clean for very long, but I'm going to take good care of her, and I think it's going to last a long time. Maybe I'll change oil every 5,000 now to try and get the most out of this engine. We're expecting to have this vehicle at least 5 years. It's my wife's daily driver, but it's just for around town and the trips that we'll do as a family and that I'll do for the channel. We probably will put on another 150 to 200, I think, within that time frame, and that'll be enough to see us out onto our next vehicle. Because I foresee the same thing happen. Eventually the one KZTE, people say if you look after them, people have got well over 500,000 K, but I think even if it's been looked after, that's probably what you can expect to get out of them based on the research I've done. The only thing that the previous owners had to do to get the Roadworthy done was brakes and brake rotors, so they're brand new. The timing belt was done at 300,000, so that's basically brand new too. That's about the time they're meant to be done in these. So fingers crossed, I'll probably go ahead and replace a lot of the fluids just so I know what's in there. Major service as such, but all in all, I'm not going to touch too much under the bonnet. As for the fuel consumption, we've only filled it up once, and we've gotten between 12.2 to 12.3 litres per 100, which I think is pretty good. I'll have to go back in the specs. I'll put it up on screen for what Toyota quoted for them. But for a vehicle this tired, having done a lot of Ks and had been towing, and all things considered, that's pretty good, I think. So it'll be interesting to see how that changes with the modifications that we want to make to the vehicle. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. Please ask me any questions. I'm after your feedback. There's a few things that people might disagree with me on this one, and happy to have a chat. I think these vehicles are great, and we'll see you soon for the rest of Project Emu. All these wattles are pretty. We're probably 1 to 2 weeks too late, I think. It'd be absolutely magical. It'd be a yellow wonderland, but they're just a bit overripe, I think. A couple of weeks.